Okay, so, story time. I was sitting around one day, gaming, and suddenly I got a comment on a video telling me about how Monstrum was getting a sequel. Oh my. It's probably gonna have smarter AI, more monsters, more dynamic gameplay through item use, maybe more modes, probably higher resolution textures. I gotta see this. Then I looked it up, and that excitement quickly turned into something like. And the funny thing is that it only took a single tag to put me in this mood. And you probably already know what that is. 4v1 asymmetrical.
Needs AI monsters like the first game, and multiplayer should have been optional. Hope the devs do good things with this one. The animations especially need fixing. And it's not even remotely scary like it was in Monstrum 1, just get Monstrum.
It's not fun. Monstrum 1 was a masterpiece.
Dead on arrival. Only 3 people are playing right now.
What hasn't been said when it comes to a negative review for this game? Completely scraps the original things that made the first Monstrum game good. Tries to make a 4v1 game in an already oversaturated market that has proven time and time again to never work unless you're Dead by Daylight, who uses pop culture characters, awful janky controls that make you feel like a seasick shipmate, and vague map design and direction. These are all valid points, but really the first one is the main one. When people asked for a multiplayer Monstrum, I can guarantee you people meant a co-op versus AI scenario. I love the original Monstrum, but this sequel isn't scary. It's lame and boring.
For the uninitiated, 4v1 asymmetrical horror games, popularized by Dead by Daylight and... yeah, that's about it, is already a very competitive genre to break into, mainly due to that game. So many games have tried to topple Dead by Daylight, and failed. It's like a David and Goliath story that actually ends in a way that makes sense. A genre that's basically starved at the moment is single-player versus AI survival horror games. Like, what's the last good single-player survival horror game to come out? Resident Evil 2 Remake from 2 years ago? This was the perfect opportunity for Team Junkfish to swoop in and create an awesome successor to the first game. And I guess they just want to go get killed by Goliath or whatever. Yeah, that's cool. Just go do that. So fast forward a bit to the release, and it goes about as expected. People are excited for like a day.
Let's do that! How do I grab things?
Lockdown commencing.
I'm gonna die.
And then it gets forgotten. Today, if I look up Monstrum 2 on YouTube, the top results are from a month ago. Only a single person is streaming on Twitch, and all of the Steam discussions are talking about how the game is dead, or expressing the exact same sentiments that I have. Okay, we need to fix this. Team Junkfish, buddy, you made a series of terrible mistakes here. The first mistake was abandoning Monstrum 1. You had a great base of a game there. Maybe not technically. I'm not entirely sure what's going on under the hood. But in terms of gameplay, you definitely had an opportunity to continue creating more content, I don't know, forever? More monsters, more items, hell, even new maps. If money's the problem, then you could have sold these things as DLC, and people would probably have bought it. Sell like a map, monster, and a few items, maybe in a DLC pack. Each pack could have been themed around a different type of horror environment. Or if you want to stick to the ocean aesthetic, then there are other types of ships at the very least. The other thing you could have added was more modes and options. I've been doing a series on my channel where I use the extended settings mod to create challenges in Monstrum 1. It's the most fun I've had with the game in a long time. Imagine if that was base game. What if console players had access to it? You can lock it behind having the player beat the game against every monster or whatever, but giving the players the opportunity to create their own game modes is always a good thing. But we shouldn't dwell too much on the what-ifs. We need to focus on the now. I hate to say it, but Monstrum 2 is basically dead at this point. No one's talking about it, it takes forever for lobbies to fill up, and even when they do, it usually doesn't run very well. The tutorials are also a mess. They don't tell you anything about player interaction, just a little test area to try out the controls. I think this stems from a big core issue with Monstrum 2, other than... it's way too complicated. You've got to go to these switches, then go to some other place, then go to this other place to escape as a survivor. I don't know what I'm doing. In a multiplayer game, the pressure's on to beat other players. So when I'm running around not knowing what to do, I'm not feeling scared. I'm feeling confused and stressed. Monstrum 1 was controlled by AI that would never get bored or frustrated patrolling the entire ship for as long as you needed them to. You had the time and space to think through your actions and consider consequences. This gave you the time to actually feel scared. I think I need to break this to everyone in the game industry. Horror game enemies controlled by other players aren't inherently any scarier than monsters controlled by AI. I don't feel more tense because the enemy is unpredictable. I'm smiling to myself thinking about how frustrated they probably are when they can't find me, or trying to bully them with movements that I know the monster isn't capable of doing themselves because I've played as the monster. It stops being about fear, and it just becomes another mind game. Don't get me wrong, multiplayer games where you're trying to strategically outplay human opponents are great, but stop insisting that it makes the monster more scary. Now that I've shattered that perception, it's time to propose some fixes. I can think of 3 right now. Option 1. This is the least effort option, and I think it's also the best. Come back to Monstrum 1 and update it somehow. Release DLC that adds a new monster or map or whatever, because I can guarantee you that people will eat that up. In the meantime, work on a single player mode for Monstrum 2, and it might just be enough to boost those player numbers back up. Once you have enough people playing, you can make the multiplayer better. Option 2. This is similar to Option 1, just without the return to Monstrum 1 bit. If you still have enough money to continue with Monstrum 2, then you can just start on the single player now. I'm telling you, it's what people want. It's what fans of the first game have been starved for so long. Option 3 is a last resort, but I feel it's worth mentioning. Shut it down. Monstrum 2 was a failed attempt. The earlier you accept it, the better. Shut down the servers and focus solely on the single player. Even rebuild it from the ground up if you have to. If you want to get some use out of the multiplayer functionality, you can maybe have an optional your friend is the monster mode, but make it secondary to the real meat of the game. I think the main thing that weakened the game was having more than one survivor and this weird live system. Just it feels so gamey and overly complicated. One life, see if you can get out. That's all people want. Okay, rant over. Like, comment, and subscribe.